Good morning, children. I welcome you all to today's video class. In today's video class, you are going to learn the first poem, The Squirrel, written by Mildred Bowers Armstrong. Before to start the poem, let me give you a brief account of pet animals and pet birds. Okay, all of us like to keep some animals as pet animals at home. We like to keep such animals at home as pet animals. See, dog, cat, rabbit. So we want to keep all these animals as pet animals at our home. We like to spend most of our valuable time with these animals. And we like to feed them, we like to play with them whenever we have time. So we are liking to keep such animals at our home as pet animals. Therefore they are generally called pet animals. Really, they are the source of enjoyment, or they are the really source of happiness. So usually the children like to play with all these pet animals. Okay, fine. Like these pet animals, sometimes we like to keep some pet birds also. So you can give good example for pet birds. See, parrot. We like to keep parrot in the cage as a pet bird, isn't it? Then lovebirds. So we like to keep all these birds as pet birds at home. We like to feed them. We like to play with them whenever we have time. So really they are all the source of happiness. So pet animals and pet birds gives us happiness when we watch them. Really we would like to be kind to them. We like to watch them when they are playing. They too like to play with us. Apart from these pet animals and pet birds, sometimes when we go out for to play with our friends in the fields, in the farms, in the park, there also we can see some animals. Some of the animals may be on the top of the trees. Some animals we can find normally when we walk along the fields. So such animals, maybe the tree living animals, see monkeys, isn't it? Then squirrel. So all such types of animals we could watch when we go out with our friends for to play. So such animals are also gives us happiness. When we sit with our parents, when we sit with our friends in the park, we never fail to watch these animals. They are moving here and there. They are always playful. They want to be with us, isn't it? So pet birds we like to watch other birds also when we go out, like peacock, peahen, crow, dove, and all other and duck also. So all these animals and birds are living with us. What you are supposed to do, you should be kind enough with them. You should not do any harm to them. You should be very kind with all these birds and animals. One day, the poet, when he was a young boy like you, he was sitting under the shadow of a tree with his friends. At that time, he was just watching the quick movement of a tree living animal. He was very much impressed by the quick and brisk movement of such an animal. So he was much impressed by the activeness of that animal. It was a young animal. It was a tiny, it's a very short animal. It is known for its quick movement, and it is very playful also. It wants to play with the human beings. It moves here and there so fast with good energy. Can you guess what is the name of that animal? Yeah, it is nothing but it is none other than the squirrel. In this poem, the poet speaks all about squirrel, how it looks like, And the poem actually starts with a description of the squirrel, and he gives a beautiful description of that squirrel, and he also describes its playful activities and food habits and other habits, peculiar habits of all these squirrels in this poem. I will explain you, I will narrate you one by one. Here children, besides pet animals and pet birds, as I told you already, you can go and you can watch some animals outside. They are playful animals. You can see these playful animals on various or at various places. These playful animals are found at various places where you can find, where you can see all such playful animals. Playful animals in the sense means they would like to play always. You can never find such animals sit idle. They are moving here and there with good energy. They never sit idle for a long time at any one place. They are always quick in their movement. They are called playful animals. You can find such playful animals in the fields, in the parks, in the garden, and in the farms also. And mostly such playful animals are living on trees. Therefore, generally they are called tree living animals. So, generally they are called tree living animals. One among such tree living animals, many animals are living on trees, on the top of the trees. Their only dwelling places trees like monkeys, bats, squirrels. So many animals are there. They are also called playful animals. They are also called tree living animal. One among them is squirrel. That's the subject matter. In our today's video class, this poem describes all about the squirrel. Okay, so squirrel is the subject matter of this poem. Okay, fine. It is the poet describes it is a small and a tiny animal. It is quick moving animal. It is a tree living animal. It is a playful animal, and it is a fun loving animal, isn't it? So you can find all these characters if you closely watch the movement of a squirrel. If you sit under the shadow of a cool tree and if you just watch the movement of the squirrel, then you come to know that really a squirrel is a fun making animal, and it is a playful animal, and it is known for its quick moving animal. Okay, fine. Next, I will explain in the words of the poet. The poem actually begins with a description of the squirrel. Yes, this poem, The Squirrel, begins with a physical description of the animal. The poet starts or begins the poem with a physical description of the animal, how it is, how it looks like. If we go near to that animal, if you have a closer view of the squirrel, you can find out that it has a soft skin. The skin of the squirrel is so soft to touch. So its skin is very soft, and it has soft hairs. The skin is full of soft hairs, or you can say it is a hairy skin. You can say it is a hairy skin. You can also say that it is full of furs. Full of furs. You can say that it is a furry skin. It is grey in color. The skin is grey in color. So the skin of the squirrel is so soft. It has soft skin, very soft to touch. The skin has hairs. The skin has furs. The skin is full of soft hairs to touch. The skin is full of furs. So you can say You can say that it is hairy skin, or you can say that it is a furry skin. It is grey in color. It is grey in color. But here, immediately the poet compares the skin of this animal, that is the squirrel, with the human beings. How he compares? Usually the skin is grey in color. This grey colored skin is compared to the grey colored overcoat of the human beings. Normally we like to wear overcoat on our shirt. It gives you a majestic look. When you wear an overcoat, it gives you a good appearance. It gives you a majestic look. So during the days of functions or celebrations, we like to wear the overcoat. Here the poet says, the skin of that animal, the skin of the squirrel is looking like a grey colored overcoat which is owned by the human beings. So the skin, again, let me repeat it again. The skin of the squirrel is so soft, so the poet compares the grey colored skin of the squirrel with the grey colored overcoat worn by the human beings. We like to wear such a coat to improve and to make ourselves as dignified one among the people, isn't it? So we like to wear the different colored overcoat. Normally it is worn by the human beings, but here the poet compares the grey colored skin of the animal, that is the squirrel, with the overcoat, grey colored overcoat which is worn by the human beings. Normally this comparison is called a personification. Usually the animal or non-living things, when the non-living things or animals are considered or compared to human beings with the human characters, then it has been personified here. Why such personifications are done by the poet? Just to beautify the language. It gives more meaning to the phrases. It makes the expressions live. So this personification is mostly used by many poets in their poem. Here also the poet has used personification. He says that the skin of that animal looks like the overcoat worn by the human beings. Therefore the skin is here compared to the overcoat of the human beings. Therefore it has been personified. Let me repeat, children. The skin of the animal, that is squirrel, is soft. It is full of hairs. It is full of furs. It has soft skin to touch. It has soft hairs all over its skin. Therefore it is called hairy skin or furry skin. It is grey in color, reddish brown. So this grey colored skin is compared to the overcoat of the human beings. We used to wear grey colored overcoat during the function or during the festival days. So here the poet says, or the poet compares the grey colored skin with the overcoat, grey colored overcoat owned by the human beings. So it has been personified. After describing the skin of the squirrel, next the poet goes to describe the tail. See, before that, let me show you the pictures I have collected. Different types of squirrels are there in the world. See this squirrel. Different types of squirrels are there in the world. They live in different places. See, some squirrels are living in the hot regions. Some squirrels are living in the cold regions. Some trees are living on the hills or hillocks or on the mountains, and some squirrels are living at the bottom of the hills or mountains. So their dwelling places may differ. Different types of squirrels are living and they live in different regions. They develop the habits according to the places where they are living. So it is one kind of a squirrel. Okay, fine. See, this is a picture found in your textbook. This picture is found in your textbook. See the majestic way it is sitting on the branch of a tree. How it enjoys the nut. Is really so impressive to look at, isn't it? Fine. See, here also I have another picture. Can you see this picture clearly, children? See, these pictures are collected from various sources. They are different squirrels. These squirrels are living in the hot regions. These squirrels are living in hot regions. Okay, fine. After giving a brief description of the skin, next to the poet goes to describe the tail of the squirrel. Yes, children, after describing the skin of the animal, that is squirrel, the poet describes the tail of the squirrel. Tail. If you have pet animals at your home, you can have a chance to touch the tail of the animals. They are very soft. They are long also. They are bushy. Most of the pet animals have long tails and they have bushy tail, and most of the tail of these pet animals are so soft to touch. In the same way, the squirrel, a tree living animal, it also has a long tail, the poet says, and the tail is full of hairs, soft hairs, and he also says that it is a bushy tail. The tail of the animal, the tail of the squirrel is bushy because it has soft hairs and furs all over its tail. And if you have a close view of the tail, one more thing also you can find. What is that secret? The tail is so long, it is full of hairs. Other than that, the squirrel has a curved shape or a hook-like shape or a bend at the end of its tail. If you have a closer view of the squirrel, you can find these things. The poet says that the squirrel's tail is so long, it has a curve, it has a bend, and it has a curl on its end. It looks like a question mark. Here the poet says that the shape or the bend or the hook at the end of the tail like this looks like a question mark. Therefore the poet says it wears a question mark. If you have a closer view of the squirrel tail, you can find these things, especially when it sits on the ground or when it sits on the branch of the tree and has its nuts. At that time you can watch the correct shape of the tail. Definitely you can find out that it has a bend, it has a hook-like shape at the end of its tail, and it has a curved shape that's called a question mark. It has a mark of a question. Okay, therefore the poet here compares the hook of the tail of the squirrel with the bend or the shape of the question mark. Therefore he says that the animal, the squirrel, has a question mark on its tail. Usually you know that question mark is one of the punctuation mark, isn't it? See, I will show you this picture and you can get a clear view now how it looks like. See this picture, how nice. See, this squirrel is sitting on the branch of a tree and it has nuts to taste. See the shape of the tail. See, it has a bend. It has a bend at its end. It has a hook shape, and it has a curl at the end of its tail, and it has a curve. So the shape, what the shape of that squirrel's tails reminds you? Yeah, it reminds you a question mark immediately. When you look at the shape of this squirrel's tail, immediately you will get a clear picture in your mind. It reminds you the question mark, definitely. Therefore, the poet here compares the shape of this squirrel's tail to the question mark. It bears a question mark at the end of its tail. What a good comparison the poet has made. When he describes the skin of the squirrel, he compares it to the overcoat, grey colored overcoat which is owned by the human beings. When he describes that hook-shaped tail, he compares it to the question mark. Very good comparison the poet has made here to make us to understand this poem well. It makes this poem a beautiful one. Okay, children, next, the poet gives a brief description about the food habits of this animal. You know well that squirrels like to eat fruits, all sorts of nuts, seeds, etc. Sometimes it likes to eat vegetables also. So almost all sorts of animals like these owl, squirrel, monkeys, they like to eat fruits. They like to eat nuts also. Do you know the most favorite food of the squirrel is nut? It always likes to have nuts. If you have a close view, if you watch it closely, you can find out that keeping or sitting straight comfortably on the branch of the tree, it starts to eat nuts. Do you know how it has its nuts? It just hold the nut in between the front legs. It sits like this. See this picture? You can view this picture. Yeah. Now you can understand how it tastes the nuts. Keeping the nuts in between the front legs. First it sits comfortably or it sits straight. Then it starts to have or enjoy the nuts slowly. That is its food habit. So here the poet describes it very nicely with nice words. So it likes to eat seeds and nuts, but the most favorite food of this squirrel is nut. It likes to have nuts. So see how nicely it takes the nuts, sitting comfortably on the branch of the tree. Okay, fine. Then, after describing the food habits of this animal, the poet starts to describe or goes to describe the swift movement of the squirrel. Everyone is much impressed by the swift and quick movement of this squirrel. You can never find a squirrel sits without any motion or sits idle for a long time. You can't just sit. You can't find a squirrel sitting idle for a long time at any one place. See, it likes to hop around the tree. It likes to jump all around the tree. It likes to run all around the tree. It likes to run from top to bottom, from bottom to top. So it is it's a playful animal. It never sits idle, and it likes to hop all around the tree. It likes to jump all around the tree. It likes to run all around the tree, and it runs from top to bottom and bottom to top. Yeah, the busiest creature in the world. And the poet also says it likes to play a game of hide and seek. Normally during the break time or free time, and nowadays during this pandemic periods, when you can't have a chance to go out, normally you want to play this type of games with your friends in your garden or at your home, isn't it? Yeah, hide and seek is a very nice game. The animal squirrel also wants to play such a nice game, hide and seek. It wants to play with the poet and with his friends. When the poet closely watches the activities of the squirrel, he comes to know that it wants to play the game of hide and seek with the poet. See, the poet loves hide and seek game with the squirrel. Why the poet says like this? If anyone goes near, see, if someone goes near to that animal or to the squirrel, what happens? Immediately it run away in the opposite direction. If you go very near, if you go near to touch it, or if you go near to have a closer view of that animal, immediately it starts to run to other directions. It starts to run in the opposite direction. That is the game of hide and seek. If you go to that direction, or if you go to that side of that animal, from there it runs to some other direction. It goes to some other branches. So whenever you go near to that animal, it just starts to run to other direction, the opposite direction. Therefore, it wants to play a hide and seek game. You can't just go and you can't have a closer view of that animal. And it also likes to tease the poet. The poet too says here that the animal squirrel, the soft nature, the tiny animal, the tree living animal, wants to tease the poet. Tease in the sense means the playful. How it wants to tease the poet? When the poet goes close to the squirrel, it would go and hide in other direction. It would go and hide in other direction. If the poet and all his friends run after it to find it, immediately it would go to other directions. So they cannot find it anywhere. At some distance, they can stand themselves and they can watch this squirrel. If they want to have a closer view, or if they want to go near to it, it runs to the other directions. If they would follow it, it would run to some other directions. So they would never go near to it to have a closer view of the squirrel. So it immediately disappears behind the tree. If they wants to go near to it, that's the thing that the poet says, that it wants to tease the poet. It wants to play a game of hide and seek. How interesting it is to know all these facts. Really, they are very playful animal. They wants to play such a hide and seek with the poet. It likes to tease him. If he goes near to him, it starts to run away in other directions, and it hides himself behind the thick trees, behind the thick branches and leaves of the branches. So, and more than that, it is generally said that they are afraid of human beings or some other creatures. If anyone goes near to it, it just starts to run away from that place. It won't sit there. So you might have watched it even at the house, roof of your house. You can find the squirrel used to come, and it just starts to collect the things found here and there. If it is eatables, it starts to eat. But if you go near, it starts to run away. So it is a very sensitive animal. The poet says that it is highly sensitive. If anyone goes near to it, it starts to run away. So throughout this poem, the poet describes the general and peculiar characteristics of a tiny and tree living animal. See what a nice description the poet has given. How much he was impressed by the quick movement of the squirrel. How much he was impressed by the peculiar characteristics and activities of the squirrel. So whenever you read this poem, you too have been impressed much by the activities of the squirrel. Really, if you have a chance, you go and sit in the garden and you can watch all the activities of the squirrel, and you can note it down one by one in your classwork note. It will be very interesting. After reading this poem, after learning all these things, you can watch it yourself. If you go and sit in the garden with your friends in the evening time, Really, you can enjoy the quick movement of the squirrel. Okay, children, now I am going to write the entire poem on the board, and I will give you a model reading, how to read the poem. Whenever you read the poem, you should read it carefully. You have to follow the pronunciation tips. All the words cannot be or should not be pronounced in the same way. You have to give the proper accent. You have to follow the pronunciation rules when you read the poem. Okay, fine. I will give you a model reading, then you can come after me or you can follow me. Okay, and you can see whenever you have time, open your textbook and just try to read it twice or thrice. First go for silent reading, then read it aloud. When you read aloud, you can exactly catch or get the proper sound of the words. Okay, fine. Okay, children, now you can open your textbook at the page number 17. There you can find this poem, The Squirrel. Now I will read out the poem. Listen to me very carefully. The squirrel, he wore a question mark for tail, an overcoat of grey. He wore a question mark for tail, an overcoat of grey. He sat up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. He sat up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. And if we ran around his tree, he went the other way. And if we ran around his tree, he went the other way. See, let me read the poem once again. Okay, fine. He wore a question mark for tail. He wore a question mark for tail and a coat of grey. He sat up straight to eat a nut. He liked to tease and play. He liked to tease and play. And if we ran around his tree, he went the other way. So in this way, you have to read this poem. Okay, children, I hope all of you could understand the poem well, and let me ask you a few questions. See, very simple questions I would like to ask you, and I will give you answers also. These questions will help you to prepare for your exam well. Okay, fine. Which is the dwelling place of a squirrel? Mostly the dwelling place of a squirrels are many. Squirrels are found at many places. You can find it farms, parks, fields, trees, but the most of the squirrels are living on trees only. Okay, where does a squirrel live? Where does a squirrel live? A squirrel lives on trees. What are its favorite food? It likes to eat all types of food like vegetables, fruits, seeds, nuts. But the most favorite food for these squirrels is nut. What does a squirrel like to eat? What does a squirrel like to eat? A squirrel likes to eat a nut. What is its skin color? What is its skin color? The color of the skin of the squirrel is grey color. It is in grey color. The skin of the squirrel is in grey color, reddish brown. Okay, fine. Then what is the color of the skin and what is its skin color? The same answer for both questions. Is squirrel a lazy animal? No. Squirrel is not a lazy animal. It is the busiest animal in the world. Okay, does it have hair on its skin? Yeah, it has hair on its skin. It has hair on its skin. Okay, fine. The squirrel skin, is squirrel skin a furry one? Yeah. Squirrel skin is a furry one. Is squirrel skin a hairy one? Yeah. Squirrel skin is a hairy one. How do you feel when you touch the skin of the animal? You feel so soft. You feel so soft to touch. If you touch the skin of the animal, you can feel it. Is the skin of the squirrel soft or hard? Absolutely. The skin of the squirrel is so soft. Which food item does the squirrel like most? As I told you already, nut. Okay, fine. Is the tail of the squirrel short or long? The tail of the squirrel is long. It's bushy. Okay. Does the squirrel have hairs on its tail? Yeah, of course. Squirrels have hairs on its tail. Just to define the shape of the squirrel. If you are asked this type of question, you have to give a brief description. Squirrels are tiny animals. They have soft skin. They have hairs on its skin. They have furs on its skin. They are so soft to touch. They are grey in color. They have long tails. They are full of hairs. And it has a hook or bent at its end. It looks like a question mark. So you have to define in such a way. And does the squirrel have any hook or bend or curve at the end of its tail? Of course they have. Of course they have. And with what does the poet compare the hook or bend of the squirrel? The hook or bend of the squirrel is compared by the poet with a question mark, one of the punctuation mark. Okay, is the question mark of the, is it the question mark one of the punctuation mark? Yeah, of course. Question mark is one of the punctuation mark, no doubt. Is it a bushy tail? Yeah, the tail of the animal, the tail of the squirrel is very bushy. It's a bushy tail. How does the squirrel sit when it takes nut? When it takes nut, it sits straight. When it takes nut, it sits straight. How does the squirrel react when you go near to it? If you go near to it to have a closer view of the squirrel, it likes to run away from that place. It runs to some other directions. It runs to the opposite direction. Where is the squirrel generally found? It's found in tall and thick trees. Where normally it is found, if you are asked, it is normally found in tall or thick trees. What are squirrels' hobbies? To do some funny tricks and play. To do some funny tricks and play. They are all the hobbies of these squirrels. Does squirrel want to play with the human beings? Yeah, yes. But it is a highly sensitive animal. If you go near to it, it starts to run away. Does squirrel a naughty animal? No, it is not a naughty animal, but it is a playful animal. Here, what does the phrase "went the other way" stands for? Went the other way means in the opposite direction. Why does the poet say the squirrel why does the squirrel have a question mark for tail? Because here he just compares the bent shape or the hook-like shape of the tail of the squirrel with a question mark, because it resembles the shape of the question mark. Therefore, the poet says like that. Okay, fine, children. And some more question. Who is he in the poem? He here stands for in the poem the squirrel. What does the overcoat of grey refer to? The overcoat of the grey refers to the skin of the animal. Okay, fine. So, you just read the poem, children. I hope all of you understand the poem well. See, I have given you a clear description. I described to you everything. And I have given you meaning for each and every word. So, to understand the poem is not at all a difficult one to you all. I hope so. Even if you have any difficulty, just make a note of it. And then whenever you have a time or chance, you can discuss it with your English teachers. Okay, fine, children. You keep learning all these question and answers, and better you can start to write summary in your own words after observing the activities of the squirrel really in the park or in the fields. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.